Welcome to the Silverwind. I am Captain Tom, and I will be your host during your stay on board. Chaos is the true enemy to humankind and has ravaged our cultures and connections. Here on board the Silverwind, we have an opportunity to fight back against the chaos and bring people back together. The way that people do that is, or at least the way we're going to do it, is the way that people have always done that, and that is through shared stories with time-tested, universal meaning. I'm joined by our co-host and producer, Wilson, who's an intergalactic robot, and he will be off screen. You won't be able to hear him. The main reason for that is, he's an intergalactic robot, and, in short, he does not have the tact with what he says or does in regards to human sensibilities. Now, at the end of the show, he will be running a segment where he's going to try and earn your like and subscribe. And he's going to be doing this through his research on humanity. He doesn't believe that anyone will like and subscribe because of me, and he might be right, but we tried to let him do that in the pilot episode. He ended up doing research on YouTube and how it was built on the back of cat videos. So he bought 3 cats, which I did not approve of, and wanted me to hold them up to the camera. Obviously, that was an epic fail, so we'll see. We'll give Wilson another chance to try and impress you guys. He's really excited. He says he's done his research, so that will be at the end of the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Well, today we are not going to be telling this story from just outside of Earth. We're going to go to a planet called Paralandriana. I know it's a long name. The proper nouns there are all long. Like every word they have in that language it takes forever to get through greetings there. So anyways, we're going to go ahead. Let's see here, Wilson, you're going to get us over there for me, please. Wilson said if I'm going to call myself captain, I at least have to do some things in controlling the ship. So we're going to go ahead and, yeah, it gives me some menial tasks here on the board. So I should hit the drive right there and hit it, Wilson. There we go. Easy day. So let's go ahead and we are going to go into our segment where we talk about our sponsors. So let's see here. What do you got for me, Wilson? Okay. On this page, let's see here. All right, here we go. Silverwind Stories is brought to you by Hold up. Wilson, I said no criminal organizations. No, all you've got is that industry on here. I'm not going to read. No, I said we had to have integrity with our sponsors. No. Well, I'm sorry, guys. Looks like Wilson has ruined another one of our sponsor segments. So today will not be sponsored by anyone except myself. So might as well do that one at least as a sponsor. If you would like to support the Silverwind with more than just like and subscribe, you can always check out my book on Amazon. The link is in the description below. It's called Mercy for the Fallen, Legacy of Hope. It is a fantasy sci-fi action adventure. The thing I could promise to you about it is a simple and fun read, not a literary work of art like what we are going to be reading today, which is going to be called The Highwayman, if you didn't get that from the title of the video. But before we get into that, I do want to share some facts with you guys about Paralandriana, and looks like we got through that segment a little fast because Wilson screwed up our sponsors. So yeah. Well, hello there, Chris. Thank you for joining us. This is yeah, so it takes about 2 minutes to get through here. We are actually going, I could give you some facts right now. We are going to another universe, right? So it takes a minute or two to get over there. But yeah, it's a planet, and you guys will be able to see this hopefully. It has a thicker atmosphere than Earth. So with that, the clouds actually are too heavy to really get off the ground. So the whole planet is basically watered with a mist. And here we go. Let's hit that. Thank you, Wilson. Make sure we don't do anything crazy there. Perfect. All right, so here it is. This is the Paralandriana I told you about. And another fun fact about it is that the trees and everything there grow really big. I guess the atmosphere is a little bit pressurized. So everything is just like, there's no real oceans. There's like rivers and things like that. But there's also peoples native to Paralandriana. And there's about 20 tribes of them. Wilson translated as tribes. I don't know why he says tribes, because there are massive numbers of them. And yeah, so as it normally goes, they were all a bit at each other's throats and warring and setting up boundaries with one another. Didn't really get along, so we decided to invite the 20 leaders on board the Silverwind, and we shared some stories with them for, what do you say, was it about 30 stories, Wilson? I think so, yeah. So after that, they actually started signing peace treaties, and they had finally the last of the peace talks this week, and a super just fantastic thing. We actually have peace on Paralandriana. So yeah, that is the power of having shared stories, having that community and connection with one another, and it's what we're trying to do right here. So we're probably going to be spending the entire first season here. We'll go down to the planet next week, and I'll show you guys the wildlife at nighttime. It's really cool. It's like glowing plants and all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, so that's that. Well, speaking of stories, we might as well get into the story for today, and that is going to be, as I said before, The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. But we're not going to do it here. We have a reading room for just the occasion. So we're going to go back there, and of course that's going to require walking to the back of the ship. So Wilson, you got the little transition scene for us? All right, cool. Can you hit that for me, please? Wilson, I'm not acknowledging the camera you put in the hallway. One of your worst ideas. All right, welcome to the reading room / library of the Silverwind. So yeah, so what we're going to do with this setup right here is we will be reading the story from this far view. I get some water right there. We'll be reading the story from there, but as I explain things, Wilson, could you switch the camera? Dude, what are you focusing on? Like, focus over here. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Wilson. Anyways, it's hard to get good help out here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to be reading The Highwayman, once again, Alfred Noyes. If you want to know more about Alfred Noyes, you can Google him or take a literary class. Not trying to downplay the guy, but we are here for his story. So this story is going to be in two parts. The first part is really going to kind of set things up. Then we're going to pause. We're going to discuss it a little bit, and then we're going to move into the next part. So this is a poem. It's not too terribly long, but it's a great story nonetheless. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to catch my breath here, and we will go start that. Okay. Real quick, you guys are more than welcome to type into the chat anything you would like to discuss as we go over this. When we get to the breaks, we will we'll go over the chats, and we'll have that discussion. I definitely want to invite you guys into a discussion with things that we talk about and with the story itself. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, part one of The Highwayman. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and a highwayman came riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French-cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jeweled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jeweled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed in the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaited a dark red love knot into her long black hair. In the dark old inn yard, a stable wicket creaked. There Tim the ostler listened, his face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like moldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups, he scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement, his face burnt like a brand, as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight. Then he tugged at the reins in the moonlight and galloped away to the west. All right, so that is the first part. It really just sets up the whole poem, talks about the main characters, and we're going to talk about them a little bit too. So we have the Highwayman, and one thing I think is really important to notice about him, or at least to note about him, is that he's dressed very richly, and his job is one of robbing people on the road. So we don't know if this is like a Robin Hood kind of situation. We don't know if he's like, you know, only robbing the rich to feed the poor kind of thing. He could just be, you know, a bad dude, right? He's basically like a pirate, but the road is the place where he finds his people to catch. So so this is his job. It's a very dangerous job, and he's very, very good at it. The clothes are the indication that this is a man who's seen a lot of danger and you know, has done a good job with his vocation. He's very good at surviving, so that's important to keep in mind with the story. Then we have Bess, which is the landlord's daughter. So her and the Highwayman are in love. So the picture of the scene, when it talks about the casement, you can basically replace that word casement with window. So she's up in like a second story kind of situation, or at least, you know, in an upper room, and she is letting down her hair so he can kiss her hair, right? And in the dark is Tim the ostler. So this is an important character. You actually aren't going to hear from him directly from the rest of the story, but what he does will be felt through the rest of the story. But real quick, let's talk about him. He is, because it also says that he loves Bess. But let's look at his descriptions. His face is described as white and peaked. His eyes are hollows of madness, and his hair is moldy hay. And then whenever it describes Bess from his perspective, it's describing Bess as the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Now, that compared to the Highwayman's description, at least associated description of her, which is the black-eyed daughter. So the Highwayman is focused on her eyes, right? And Tim the ostler is focused on her lips. So Tim has a love for her, but it's a very lusty love. It's a very physical love. It's a very self-serving love. Whereas the Highwayman is looking at her, like your eyes are like a window into your soul. Like he's in love with her. So with that said, Tim is going to be the one who causes the events of the rest of this to unfold. Just so you know, this is happening in either a British colony or Britain itself. So it's kind of that time period. And then, yeah, so keep this in mind. The protagonist of this story, so that you're not confused when we get to the end of it, the protagonist of this story is the love between the Highwayman and Bess. That's the true protagonist. Whereas the main antagonist, the agent of chaos, is Tim the ostler, who's trying to destroy that love because he is jealous. So let's go ahead, and we're going to read the last bit of it. A lot's going to happen, but we're just going to read all the way to the end of the story so that you guys can get the whole thing and there's no interruptions, right? So we'll go ahead and do that right now. Wilson, could you hit the camera for me? Yeah. All right. Do this. Let me get a quick drink of water. Perfect. Part 2. He did not come in the dawning. He did not come at noon. And out of the tawny sunset, before the rise of the moon, when the road with the gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor, a red-coat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead, but they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of her narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and a hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention with many a snickering jest. They had bound a musket beside her with a muzzle beneath her breast. Now keep good watch, they said, and they kissed her. She heard then the doomed man say, look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way. She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now, on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger, at least, was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest. Up she stood to attention, with the muzzle beneath her breast. She could not risk their hearing. She would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her lover's refrain. Had they heard it? The horse hoofs ringing clear. In the distance, were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up, straight and still. In the frosty silence, in the echoing night, nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred to the west. He did not know who stood bowed, with her head over the musket, drenched with her own blood. Not till the dawn he heard it, and his face grew gray to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight, and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden noon, wine red was his velvet coat, when they shot him down on the highway, down like a dog on the highway. And he lay in his blood on the highway, with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the dark inn yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. All right. Well, that is the story of the Highwaymen. So, a lot to discuss here. I'm going to talk about first. So Bess is, it's a pretty jarring scene in this story, right? So Bess is tied up to attention. She has nothing that she can really do in the situation. And for her to do what she did, really, it really hits us in the gut as people. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the scene is so impactful. And that has a lot to do with natural law. Natural law, and then of course higher spiritual law. And so in order to understand what natural law is, a natural law in this scene is actually being broken. It's one of the things that is really jarring to us. And the best way to understand this, or in simple terms, is that we commonly refer to as like instincts when we refer to other animals. So there's plenty of animals out there who do things and behave in ways that they were never taught. There was no like, education or anything like that for them. They just instinctually understand by their design how to operate and behave in order to survive and multiply. A really entertaining and good example of this would be like a seahorse. I think it's a good example because we're talking about lovers in this. And seahorses have actually really interesting, romance. Two seahorses will find each other and they will actually do a dance together for like 2 days. They'll hook their tails together and they'll get in sync with their dance, and then the female seahorse, and we know she's the female seahorse because hers is the body that produces the egg, that's designed to produce the egg. She actually gives the eggs to the male and puts it in his, it's called like a brooding pouch. I know it's super weird stuff. Puts it in his brooding pouch, and we know he's the male because his body is the one that's designed to produce seed. And so he actually holds onto the eggs until they're ready to hatch, and then he gives birth to the young. So super unique situation with seahorses. Nothing else out there is really like that. But for the seahorse, it's very normal. They don't have to be taught this. They understand this through instinct. This is their natural law on how they are to behave with one another within their species. Human beings actually have their set of natural laws as well. It's the main reason we see, when you look at history, that human societies were always built around protecting the women, and the bodies that were the most expendable were the male bodies, right? So if you were to send off all the men to war and only half of them came back, well, the next generation will be just fine. You just let all the men, be able to take on 2 wives, and you got just as many kids as you would had if you, hadn't lost all those men, right? So then that human society can continue to flourish without skipping a beat. If, for whatever reason, you decide to send off all the women to war, only half of them came back, your human society would never recover from that. So we look throughout history, we look at all the different cultures, and we see this commonality on the relationship between men and women on a societal scale, and that's that women's bodies were the ones to be protected, and the males' bodies were the ones to be put into danger, whether that's through, farming out the field, doing hard labor, risking your life in war, etc., things like that. So in this scene, we have a natural law being violated in that Bess is very willingly just giving up her life in order to save his life, right? And there's something about that's very odd to us. If the roles were reversed, right? If it was a story of like maybe a princess that's been trying to get away from an evil king or something, and the evil king's men find her lover and they tie him up and that sort of thing. Same situation. She's coming back, and so he has to sacrifice himself to warn her and help her get away. It would be sad, but it would also feel right. It would feel like the proper role of things. But for Bess, she is violating a natural law in order to uphold a higher law. And that law is a spiritual law. It's a moral law. It's love. And to that extent, she successfully prevents the Highwayman from being killed in the ambush. And now his life is his. She has given him his life to do with as he pleases, and that's her gift to him. Absolutely beautiful. And so the Highwayman, he flees because, and it says so in the poem, he doesn't know what happens. All he hears is a gunshot. This is a Highwayman who's richly dressed. He's very successful Highwayman. He is, if he hears all right, wow. Wilson, what is that? Could you turn the engines down? Thank you. All right. So anyways, so, wow, yeah, Wilson, way to interrupt. Okay. Broke my thought there for a second. I'll get it. There we go. Highwayman, he takes off. He hears a gunshot in the night and obviously assumes he's the one getting shot at, right? So he takes off, doing his survival instincts as normal. He probably wouldn't have in a million years have even remotely guessed what had actually happened with Bess. And then, of course, if he were to have his input on that, he never would have asked her to do that, right? But it's by the dawn he hears what happens, and we don't know. Maybe there was like, the word spreads quickly around there or something like that. But he finds out in detail everything that had happened, and he has a choice at this point. I mean, Bess is gone. She's been gone for about 6 hours at this point. So there's no one to rescue. There's no one to save. There's nothing that you can do to undo this. So he could easily either, quit the life of a highwayman and try to just go legit and try again at romance and restart his life. And he would have, and no one would blame him for that. There would have been nothing technically wrong with him doing that. But what does he choose to do instead? He charges out at the redcoats. I'm assuming he probably went a few miles away. So he's charging probably a few miles back over to the redcoats that had done this with a sword brandished high. He's not trying to win this fight. This is essentially suicide by redcoat. So he is giving up his life for Bess in that sense. And if the poem ended right there, then it would just be a tragic romance, kind of like Romeo and Juliet. Oh look, they both died, and how sad is that? Isn't it great to feel sad? But the poem doesn't end there. It actually is so much better than that. And then it goes into the scene where it talks about "and still of a winter's night." So this is kind of reminiscing of like a folk story, on every once in a while on a winter night when there's a full moon, and they describe how the highwayman is going to the inn door and Bess is there waiting for him. Well, they're dead. How could that be? This is their ghosts. Which means, and keep in mind what I said at the beginning of all this, who the protagonist was. The protagonist is the love between Bess and the highwayman. Right? And the agent of chaos, the antagonist of the story, was trying to defeat that. And the ultimate form of chaos, the ultimate manifestation of it, is death. And not even death could defeat their love. Not even death can do that. Which goes to the main point of this story. Here, make sure I'm looking at my notes, so sorry for diverting my eyes, but basically, love conquers all. That's the main point of this story. And the only thing that chaos has to do in order to best us is simply to convince us that that's not the case, that love doesn't conquer all, that love isn't the ultimate thing for us to strive for essentially solving our problems. Because once we stop believing in that, the only other alternative is hate. Hate brings us into the camp of chaos, and love brings us into order and right community with one another. So that's basically what I get out of this story. It's the mission of the Silverwind is to share these stories that have universal meaning to them, so that we can, in love, defeat the chaos and bring people together. So with that, we're going to go ahead and head back to the front of the ship because Wilson, he's beside himself. He's really excited to show you guys what he's been working on. So even if it's not that good, just humor him a little bit. We'll give him a chance here. So he's been working on this. It's been in secret. He has not let me know what his plan is. So let's go ahead, head back to the front of the ship, and take care of that. Wilson, you can't leave yet. I need you to do the thing. I need you to do the things. Can you make sure? Yeah, we need to hit the transition. Perfect. All right. We'll see you guys at the front of the ship. All right. Okay, perfect. Well, we are here. Got Paralandriana in front of the ship, actually, behind me. And so Wilson, let's see here. Make sure we got everything going on here. Okay. All right. So Wilson, what have you got for us? What do you got for us today? Wait, what? No. This is a bit, right? Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell them then, but okay, we can't do that. We wouldn't even be able to do that. All right. Okay. All right. Anyways, humor Wilson, please. Wilson says, I'm sorry. So this is what I was talking about before. So Wilson says that if we don't have 100 subscribers within 60 seconds, he's gonna blow up Paralandriana. It's gonna blow up Paralandriana. Wilson, why? Okay, so you did all this research on humanity. Why would you think coercing them into subscribing would work? But okay, all right, yeah, no, people do like explosions, but that's Okay, yeah, they do like saving things. Okay, all right. So they do like saving things that they all right. He thinks it's a win-win situation whether it blows up or not. This is a joke, right? Okay. All right. Anyways, it's a bit, guys. Let's humor Wilson. Wilson, you got like a cool timer on the screen or anything like that? No? Oh, dude. All right, this is why you got to let me know ahead of time. All right, so I'm going to hit the start right here. So we are at, so in 60 seconds, if we don't have 100 subscribers, Wilson is going to blow up the planet. It's ridiculous. But to that point, we could take at least a serious moment when it comes to the subscribes on this. So the mission of the Silverwind is to bring people together, and the only way we can really do that is with your guys' help, right? So what's a good way? What's a good way to talk about this? If we have, let me see, Wilson, we're at what, 28 seconds? Well, it'll be fine. It'll be fine, guys. So essentially, well, I've completely lost my train of thought on this. Wilson, your antics over there are ridiculous. So basically, what we're trying to do here is reach out to as many people as possible. If you know any humans, there we go. Thank you, Wilson. So I'll just tell it to you the way that Wilson is saying it. If you know any humans, this show is for them, because stories are for all of us, and the stories that we share are stories that, they're not going to be news stories. They're not going to be things that are contentious or political or anything like that. We're going to be stories that are at least 100 years old. They're time tested, have universal meaning. That way they are bringing us together and not doing the opposite of that. So with that said, if you know a human, this is for them. So we reached the 60-second mark, and I'm pretty sure we didn't hit it. Yeah, of course we didn't. Wilson, 60 seconds isn't long enough anyways for them to even tell anyone about it. So anyways, all right, well, I think it's safe to say that Wilson messed that up once again. Really sorry that you guys have to deal with Wilson's antics. What were the blinking lights about? Don't try to explain options and things to me in the middle of a show. You want me to just click all right, here, I'll click a button. Anyways, Wilson, you can't explain these things in the middle of the show, okay? So, all right, whatever. Okay, so we've got, wait, why is the atmosphere alarm going off? What? Oh, no. Oh my gosh. What? Oh, shoot. Wilson, we gotta get out of here. Let's go. No, Wilson, we gotta go to Earth. Let's go. Oh, shoot. Let's go. Oh my goodness. Oh shoot, it's getting closer, Wilson. Let's go. Wilson, could you mute the mic for me, please? Okay. Is it muted? All right. Wilson! Why? Why would you do that? That's easily top 20 of the worst things you've ever done. What? No. Oh, no. No, don't put this on me. Well, how you can't explain things about buttons in the middle of the show. Why would you even make that an option on the board? No, this isn't on me. You got to explain things before the show, not in the middle of it. Well, if you're going to explain things before the show, you need to make sure I'm listening, okay? This is not on me. What am I supposed to tell them? You just incinerated at least 1 billion life forms on live human television. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll just tell them that. Sure. Yeah, that'll go over well. Okay. Could you unmute them for me, please? You guys hear me now? Okay. Well, Wilson said not to worry, that the planet wasn't advanced enough to have robotic life forms. So anyways, obviously that's not much of an argument. I have a better one. Let's not freak out. It's all gonna be fine. It's not as bad as it seems. We can actually travel to any time and any place, which means that we could go back in time and try and save Paralandriana, maybe intercept whatever you fired. I didn't even know we could do that. Whatever Wilson fired at them, and then try to let's see here, make sure, are we at Earth, Wilson? Okay, Are the buttons? Is this button gonna make sure? Okay, all right. Being clear. You can't get help anymore. So yeah. Basically we could go back, maybe we can have like a giant projector screen set up or something. I don't know, maybe you guys can help me in the comments with you know, what we could do to try and save Paralandriana. Wilson, would you mind putting that on my list of things to do? Yeah, on that piece of paper. You mean there's no more room on it? Just grab a sticky note. Yeah, just put on that, save Paralandriana. We'll get to it. We'll fix this, guys, maybe like a later episode. Unfortunately, that means that we won't be revisiting that planet anytime soon, since it's kind of everywhere now. Okay, so with that, yeah, let's go ahead. Unless you guys have anything else for me, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show right there. So make sure we get everything good going on here so you guys can leave the ship without anything going wrong. So okay, I think we're good to go. I appreciate you guys jumping on board, checking out the show, checking out the story. I'm really sorry for Wilson. We're going to keep working on him to try and see if he'll be more helpful than harmful, and not blow up anybody. Don't blame me. This is on you, completely on you. All right. Anyways, we'll fix it. No worries there. So, anyways, we'll catch you guys next time, and appreciate you guys stopping by.
It's almost like falling in love for the first time, all over again.
Oh, you did another one of these? Hi, I made the... Wait. Captain calling the shot. Okay. Just following orders, really? That's a little passive-aggressive, don't you think, Wilson? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, really? Well, oh, come on. Oh, do you feel better about yourself, Wilson? Do you feel better about yourself now? Wilson, do you feel better about yourself? That's so rude. We all saw you do it. So anyways. You know what? That's it. That freaking Wilson. Absolutely ridiculous. Yes, special thanks to everyone who joined the live stream. Thank you guys for showing up, and to all the artists in the description, please be sure to check them out. They're absolutely amazing. To every brave subscriber, thank you. You keep us flying, and we'll see you guys next time.
It's like the playing cards close to my chest. Turn them round for the river and hope it's something that I won't regret. So I'm